July 1324. A caravan arrives in Cairo, Egypt. But this isn't a normal trade convoy. It is a moving city. 60,000 men, 12,000 servants wearing rare Persian silk, 80 camels, each struggling under the weight of 300 pounds of pure gold dust. At the front of this line is a man named Mansa Musa. He is the emperor of Mali, and in the next few weeks, he is going to do something that no human being has done before or since. He is going to spend so much money in the markets of Cairo, giving gold to beggars, buying souvenirs, tipping officials, that he single-handedly crashes the value of gold in the Mediterranean. He flooded the market with so much wealth that he caused hyperinflation that wrecked the Egyptian economy for 12 years. Adjusted for inflation, modern economists estimate Mansa Musa's net worth at, well, they actually can't. They simply describe it as incalculable. He didn't just have billionaire money. He possessed more wealth than the combined GDP of entire modern nations. But here is the question that most history books skip over. They tell you that he was rich. They rarely tell you how. How did a kingdom on the edge of the Sahara Desert, completely cut off from the industrial centers of Europe and Asia, become the wealthiest superpower on the planet? To understand that, we can't start with the gold. We have to start with a crippled boy, a sorcerer, and a game of thrones that makes fiction look boring. A century before Mansa Musa broke the world economy, the region was a disaster zone. The old empire of Ghana had collapsed. Warlords were tearing the land apart. The most terrifying of them all was the Sorcerer King. Legend says he lived in a tower where he kept the severed heads of 9 defeated kings. He wore robes made of human skin. He was brutal, he was efficient, and he was conquering everything in sight. The only thing standing in his way was a small royal family from the Mandinka people. But the Sorcerer King wasn't worried about them. He executed the king and 11 of the princes. He spared only one, a child named Sundiata. Why spare him? Because Sundiata was disabled. He was a teenager who still crawled on all fours, unable to stand. The Sorcerer King mocked him, laughed at him, and left him to die in the dust. Big mistake. Because this isn't just a story about money, it's the ultimate underdog story. Sundiata was forced into exile, and in that exile, something changed. The legends say he pulled himself up on an iron rod until it bent into a bow. History tells us he did something even harder. He built a coalition. He traveled from tribe to tribe. He learned the trade routes. He learned the terrain. And most importantly, he convinced the scattered clans that if they didn't unite, they would die. In 1235, the crippled boy returned as a man. He brought an army of cavalry and archers to the plains of Quirina. He didn't just beat the Sorcerer King, he obliterated him. The tyrant vanished into a cave, never to be seen again. Sundiata was crowned the Mansa, the king of kings. But what he did next is the real reason Mali became a superpower. And this is the part that should change how you view history. Usually, when a warlord wins, he loots the city and rules by fear. Sundiata did the opposite. In the year 1235, 500 years before the U.S. Declaration of Independence, and roughly the same time England was just figuring out the Magna Carta, Sundiata gathered the clan leaders and created the Charter of Manden. This wasn't just a set of rules, it was the constitution of the earth. It abolished slavery of the Mandinka people. It gave women roles in government. But the most important part was how they enforced it. The laws were so strict and the justice so swift that foreign travelers were shocked. The famous explorer Ibn Battuta later wrote that in Mali, there is complete security in the country. Neither traveler nor inhabitant in it has anything to fear from robbers. He claimed you could leave a heavy sack of gold on the side of the road, walk away for hours, and when you came back, it would still be there. That safety was the product. Sundiata created a Pax Maliana, a Mali peace. And because of that peace, the trade routes shifted. They moved out of the danger zones and right into the heart of Mali. And that is when the money printer turned on. They sat on a geographic trap that made them wealthy beyond belief. To the south of Mali, you had the gold fields. The miners there had gold, but they needed salt to survive in the tropical heat. To the north, in the Sahara, you had salt mines, but they craved gold. Mali sat directly in the middle. They became the middleman for the entire continent. If you wanted salt, you paid Mali. If you wanted gold, you paid Mali. But the genius wasn't just in the tax, it was in the inflation control. The kings of Mali realized early on that if everyone had gold, gold would be worthless. So they passed a law. All gold nuggets belonged to the king. Only gold dust could be traded. They artificially restricted the supply of gold to keep the price high. It was central banking 500 years before the Bank of England existed. By the time we get back to Mansa Musa in the 1300s, this system had been running perfectly for decades. The empire was roughly the size of Western Europe. It had a standing currency, a standing army of 100,000 men, and ambassadors in Morocco and Egypt. So when Mansa Musa went on that pilgrimage to Mecca, he wasn't just showing off, he was doing a marketing stunt. Before his trip, European mapmakers had left West Africa blank. They thought it was just dragons and sand. After Musa's trip, the Catalan Atlas was released in Europe. It showed a black king sitting on a throne, holding a gold nugget the size of a grapefruit. Suddenly, every merchant in Venice, Genoa, and Lisbon knew exactly where Mali was. Musa put his empire on the map, literally. But the most valuable asset in Mali wasn't the gold he spent. Mansa Musa didn't just bring back souvenirs from his travels. He brought back headhunters. He recruited the finest architects, poets, and astronomers from Cairo and Spain and brought them to his city, Timbuktu. We often use Timbuktu as a joke, a phrase meaning the middle of nowhere. But in the 14th century, Timbuktu was the Silicon Valley of Africa. They built the University of Sonkoor at a time when Europe was reeling from the Black Death and illiteracy was the norm. Timbuktu had a student population of 25,000. They were performing eye surgery. They were charting the movement of the planets. They were rewriting Islamic law. The book trade in Timbuktu became more profitable than the gold trade. In fact, a single handwritten manuscript could sell for more than a fine horse or a slave. Even today, there are hundreds of thousands of these manuscripts hidden in the region. In 2013, in recent memory, librarians in Mali risked execution to smuggle them out of war zones because they knew that knowledge was worth more than any gold mine. So what happened? Why aren't we talking about the Mali superpower today? It wasn't just bad kings or civil wars. There is a cruel irony to the fall of Mali. Remember that map? The Catalan atlas that Mansa Musa inspired? That map that showed the world his glory? That map was also his death warrant. That map is exactly what the Portuguese used to find the coast of West Africa. They saw the king with the gold nugget, and they sailed towards it. When the European ships arrived, they bypassed the desert. They opened up trade directly on the coast. Suddenly, the Great Sahara caravans were obsolete. Mali was no longer the essential middleman. They were irrelevant. The flow of gold shifted from the sand to the sea, and the empire suffocated. But while the political power died, the cultural DNA survived. You can hear the echo of the Mali Empire in the music of the American South. The griots, the oral historians of Mali, played a stringed instrument called the ngoni. When enslaved West Africans were brought to America, that tradition evolved into the banjo and the blues. You can see the legacy in the architecture of the Sahel, those massive mosques made of earth that withstand the centuries. Mansa Musa might have been the richest man in history, but the true wealth of Mali wasn't the gold he spent. It was the civilization he represented, a civilization that turned the sand of the Sahara into a golden age.